So a lot of stuff happening today for The Walking Dead. Norman Reedus actually gave a pretty big interview today that I do want to get into. And also the ratings will be out later on today. So a lot to talk about here. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Now today I will for sure have my opening credits breakdown as well as the episode 2 stuff as well. I know I've been saying that a lot the last couple of days, but I've been really working on my car right now. The battery is having issues. And so I got a battery, but the posts are in the wrong spot. And so I had to like change all like the terminal clamps, blah, blah, blah. It's almost all done, but I actually have to go get a different battery because this one is just not going to work. And so, yeah, I've just been really busy with that, and all that should be done today. Then I'll be able to get to work on like everything. So, yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Now, the first thing that I do want to get into here is, I guess saying that the ratings are going to be coming out later on today. So I will do a video breaking down the ratings and what it could mean overall for The Walking Dead, because it could mean a lot of different things. Obviously, if the ratings are very, very low, then, I mean, at this point, honestly, I don't know how much the ratings really matter. I mean, I imagine that it does matter, obviously, but I think that it is one of those things that, like, AMC already kind of knows what they're doing here, and Norman Reedus actually said something here that I do find really interesting, and it kind of makes sense based off of where they're at right now. And obviously, he said something yesterday, well, not yesterday, but there was an interview that came out yesterday, the day before, that I talked about yesterday, and I do think that The Walking Dead right now is very much in a place where they're trying to see where they're going to go next. It's not like it's going to be completely over and done, and we'll talk about that, but I don't think that's going to happen just because of, I mean, that would just be insane for AMC to do, just because it's one of their biggest shows. But I think that, you know, figuring out where to go next is definitely the smarter thing. I think for sure having all the characters reunite is the smartest thing to do, because I think the ratings will increase, because the one thing with the spin-offs is that a lot of people watch for like certain characters, right? I know that some people will watch all the shows, but you know, there are a lot of people that just watch like, you know, for this character or that character. And so they're just fans of Dead City, and there's fans of Daryl Dixon, right? Or the ones who live, but they won't check out the other spin-offs. And so I think that's the thing that's kind of working against it, is that with The Walking Dead, all the characters were there, so everyone was watching. And I think that is definitely something working against the spinoffs right now, which is, you know, that's going to happen. I imagine that is something that they probably knew was going to happen. Everyone's going to watch for their favorite character, right? So, yeah, getting all the characters back together again and having a different story there, I think is the best thing that you could do. But I think that it's really just all about, can we figure out where to go with this? And yeah, like honestly, to me, I think what they should do, and it's something that I think would be very, very simple to do, and I just know that this would excite a lot of people, and that is, one, have an original series with new characters. I think having new characters set around like the beginning of the apocalypse and just starting over again with like an original, fresh series would be really exciting if you had like really awesome, you know, characters, and just, you know, tell that story again like that, because Fear the Walking Dead was so exciting back then. And if you did something like that now, it definitely would really work. I see a lot of excitement for something like that because it would be fresh and brand new. And then I think do like, I don't want to say a next generation spinoff, but basically do a story like that where the characters all reunite and there's a lot more focus on like Judith and RJ. And I mean, obviously the actors are a lot older now, right? Like a couple of years older. I think that they could play, you know, their roles being that much older. There's Herschel as well, right? And I think that would be a really interesting story that you could actually do. And so something like that would be really cool. And this show, if it's 4 seasons, 5 seasons or whatever, could serve as like the passing of the torch, right, to the next generation, basically. Like, it's not necessarily going to be a next generation show, but it's going to be one of those things where, like, you know, Daryl's going to be there, but he'll be a lot older. All the characters will be much older, and they're sort of passing the torch to the next generation. And when this show is over or whatever, maybe the characters die in the first couple of seasons or something, the next generation will sort of take over, and then you have like, you know, new life with The Walking Dead, because at some point they're going to end up rebooting The Walking Dead, right? Like in the next 10, 15 years probably, because at that point it'll have been almost 30 years, right, since The Walking Dead premiered. Usually that's when shows get, you know, rebooted and stuff, so I could see that happening. They'll go back to like the Atlanta storyline, you know, going back to Herschel's farm. You'll have all different actors playing like all these roles, and I could just see that being a thing eventually. So you have another like 10 to 15 years the most, I feel like, or 5 to 10 years even, like with the current story here. And I think that, yeah, doing something like that would make a lot of sense. I think a lot of people would be really excited with that. Let's get into what Norman Reedus had to say here. So I saw this in an article here from TWD, and so first of all, this is from CBR. I'll leave a link down below. Definitely go and check out the article. There's so much stuff in here. Really great article. Honestly, I would say that Norman Reedus was just very honest in this article. Like, he was just kind of like, this is that. Like, he was very, very honest and just told the truth of everything here. And I'm not saying that he never tells the truth, but it just seems like he was a lot more honest than just being like, yeah, I don't know about this or whatever. So let's actually get into what I want to talk about here. And it's this one quote right here that I find really interesting. So Katie asks, speaking of the end, why did season 4 feel like the right time to conclude this story? And Norman Reedus says, I don't know, that's not a decision I make. It was kind of told to us. We kind of perpetuated that it was always the plan, but that really wasn't the plan. It was kind of the plan in the end. It might just be this version of this. I don't know what's happening. I don't know where we're going. I'm happy with what we've done and where we're at, but who knows? I have no idea. I didn't know the main show was going to go past season 2. So that right there, I find really interesting because, I already kind of knew that wasn't a thing. Like, I remember David Zabel saying like a year or two ago, something about like, who knows, maybe in season 5 or 6, we'll end up going somewhere else, like after Spain. And then all of a sudden this year at Comic-Con, he was saying that this was always the plan to sort of end the story here in Spain. I was like, wait, that makes no sense. I remember you saying that before, but you know, I know that a lot of showrunners or writers will do stuff like that. Like, you know, if a show has to end after a certain amount of seasons, they'll be like, well, this is always the plan. I'm like, I never really believe it, but I think that, yeah, like if they could have went longer, they definitely would have. And I think Norman Reedus was definitely really excited to do, a lot more of the show, but AMC wants to end the story here. And so I think that, personally for me, I think that it makes a lot of sense. I think it is time. I think that when you're looking at the show and the excitement from everyone watching The Walking Dead, 4 seasons is perfect. I do think going any longer would just be a little bit, I don't know, like, I guess you could, because then you would have a lot more excitement thereafter anyways, but I just think now is the time to kind of end these spinoffs and then get all the characters to reunite, right? I think it just makes a lot of sense to do that right now. Because, I don't know, like, I do like the spinoffs a lot. I definitely, like, I'm a huge fan of the spinoffs for sure. But I can tell the excitement's not there. Like, things have changed quite a bit once they announced that season 4 was the end. I can tell that there's an actual excitement everywhere now. Everyone's like, okay, so this is ending. Are they all going to reunite? And there's this actual, like, real excitement there that is starting to build. And so, you know, if they keep doing this and then eventually they announce that all the characters are reuniting, this and that, the excitement will be probably, if anything, bigger than what it was with The Ones Who Live, because you're going to have Rick and Daryl actually reunite, right? And so that's kind of what I'm really looking forward to right now, is like what they're doing next. And let's actually talk about what he says here. He does say, I don't know where we're going. I'm happy with what we've done and where we're at, but who knows? I have no idea. I didn't know the main show was going to go past season 2. So that part right there I find really interesting. And I think it makes a lot of sense for now, because they don't know where the story is going to go next. And I think that's what Gimple is working on. Like, what do they do after this? Everyone seems to be hinting that this is not the end. This is the end of their story in Europe, right? Like, they're in France, they're in Spain. They're probably going to go back home, I'm assuming. Like, we'll have to wait and see. But this is not going to be the end, right? There's going to be more Daryl and Carol's story. There's going to be something else afterwards. But I think right now they're trying to figure out what to do with that. And, you know, that's definitely something that, yeah, it does take a lot of time to really, work out, because it could be something that they totally mess up, right? Like, I mean, imagine if they did like a Gabriel and Aaron spinoff. I just think that that's something that wouldn't be the most exciting. Like, I love those characters, but I just think a spinoff on them would not be that exciting. You just have to do this right. Like, whatever they're going to do next has to be right. Because, like, if all the characters are reuniting, why isn't it a Walking Dead season 12? Well, if it's going to be something different, then you have to really look at all of that. Like, what is the title going to be? Like the theme song and like all that stuff. Like, how is all of that going to work? How are we going to be able to say that, like, this is a different show? Because there could be some criticisms of like, well, this is basically season 12 of The Walking Dead. Why aren't you calling it that? I think that that's the thing. I honestly think, like, now that I'm looking at it like that, to me, I think what they should do is, the next story here should be about the next generation, and the characters will reunite. That'll be a big part of it. The next generation won't be the main characters, like Judith, RJ, Herschel, etc. They're not going to be the main characters. Laurent will probably actually be there as well. I don't think they're going to be the main characters, but they should be, I guess, a part of the group. And if they're out there trying to survive or do whatever, they should actually be there as well, instead of all the younger characters staying back in the community, right? Like, they should actually be out there trying to survive with them. And, Daryl and them should all be wondering, like, well, like, our time is probably going to come to an end soon. And, the next generation, they got to learn how to take care of themselves. And yes, they know how to, but like, they really are going to be on their own. So we got to really think about, what we're sort of, doing for them and all that. Think about the future and everything. And I think that that's a place that you can actually go with a lot of this here, is if you take, I'm trying to think of what else you could do. You could also just build it to a reunion show where you have all the characters together again and they are like the main characters. You could totally do that for sure. It doesn't have to be The Walking Dead season 12. It could literally be a reunion show. I think there would be so much excitement for that. Make it a big, huge event. And then obviously after that, at the end, or if you want to do a Next Generation show after that, that would also work. But there's definitely a place where you can take this where it would be really, really exciting. And, you could also mess it up. And I think that's what they're trying to figure out right now, is like, where do we go after this? Obviously, AMC likely wants to have a really good show planned and not just like have anything out, right? And The Walking Dead, to me, is a show that you can't really just like end. And that's where I want to talk about this a little bit here. I do feel like at some point in the next 5 years, The Walking Dead, or this era anyways, will be coming to an end for sure. Like, I think by 2030, this will all be over for the most part. Like Daryl, Rick, like all of their stories will be over, because it'll be 20 years. They have a couple more years left here. There's going to be all the characters reuniting most likely. So I just think with all of that, for sure, at the most, 2030, and I think that's perfect. It's been 20 years, a really amazing long run of a story. Like, I would love that. And then you do a Next Generation thing or reboot or whatever afterwards, right? Or even an animated comic series, just something like that. But I think that would be absolutely perfect. And so I think that for AMC to just not do any Walking Dead content after this would be kind of insane, because like The Walking Dead, in terms of their numbers, or at least based off of Dead City, like, it's doing as good as a lot of shows that they have, if not better. It's doing better than Interview with the Vampire. And like, that show got another season, and it's, you know what I mean? I just think that The Walking Dead is very, very strong as, a show, and having all the characters reunite would have the ratings definitely higher. And I think would be, the place you should go with something like that. And the only other thing I could see maybe is if AMC just sells The Walking Dead, but then again, I just feel like then you don't own The Walking Dead anymore. And then maybe HBO or someone else owns it, Prime or whatever. And then obviously they would just make more Walking Dead content, but they would make also a lot of money as well. So I just think that it's one of those things where AMC has the rights to this really strong franchise that I just think that they gotta do, I guess something really smart and exciting afterwards. And honestly, like, the one thing that I've noticed, and this might be just me, but I've noticed that The Walking Dead, or at least online, they've been a lot more, I guess, interactive with the fans. And that is something that I said a couple months ago, that they definitely should be a lot more like that, because, in the past, it was just like, okay, make this post about this. Make this post about this. The actors were not really engaged with the fans at all. It was just like, oh, there's a new episode out, and Norman Reedus last Sunday was actually like, engaging with everybody and just like really excited about the episode airing and stuff. And so, this Sunday as well, he's probably gonna do the same thing. Like, there's so much promotion about this show right now. And I think they're realizing, like, yeah, we actually, like, I think the fans were always there for a long time, for sure. But I do think that it's getting to a point now where it's like, you have to build that excitement again. And I'm starting to notice it anyways. And so I wonder if that is something that they're changing right now. Like, how do we make this more exciting again? Because I've noticed that there's a lot more, promotion of The Walking Dead, a lot more interactions online. Anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post your thoughts down below on all of this. I think that, what Norman Reedus said here makes a lot of sense. Like, he doesn't know what's happening, or he doesn't know where they're going, because I think that that's sort of what they're working on right now. Like, if you're thinking about it, like, this show, if they're all reuniting, it would probably be out, like late 2027, right? So there's a lot of time to sort of come up with this idea over the next like couple of months to a year, I would say, because you would have to film this at some point in late next year, like a year from now, right? So I imagine they have been working on this for quite some time now. And, just what they're doing next, I think that's what they have to figure out. And that's why I think personally that this next show, whatever it's going to be, could be announced, honestly, at the end of season 3, or maybe it's going to be early next year. I think that there's going to be some sort of announcement in the next year of what's coming next, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense for them to wait till all the shows are over, because they got to film stuff beforehand, right? So I do think that there is going to be something after this. It's just trying to figure out when. And again, I think for AMC to sell The Walking Dead would be kind of insane, because you would have Prime or HBO or whoever would buy it just making a bunch of Walking Dead stuff afterwards, right? So it's like, and it would make a lot. So I'm just like, you just kind of have to do what's really exciting right now, do what the fans want, and eventually in like 5 or 10 years, maybe just do a reboot of everything with The Walking Dead. Go back to the original story, have, someone else playing Rick Grimes, which I know would be crazy, but you could definitely do that. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it here though. Definitely post your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.